Oh, yeah, baby. Here we go. We got another great guest for you guys. His name is Austin Schneider in the house. This dude is a machine. Systems, leadership, funnels, lead acquisition. This guy's figured out the sauce. Austin, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate the energy. It's good. It's
Come,
infectious. So hopefully I can bring something similar because it makes a big difference. So
come on,
I
with
like it.
with hair like that, man. We're gonna have a
All
ton of
right.
energy going on.
All right. I like it. I'll take it.
There we go. Hey, let's start off here, okay? We got a lot of people who are building businesses, who are scaling businesses, and you are a guy that's really tried to identify the key pieces of what makes businesses successful and what makes businesses scale. So, how did you figure out all of this? Did you just start knowing systems? Did you have a career before that, or did you go through the trial and error process of a traditional entrepreneur?
Yeah. I think it was definitely like I learned a lot through doing things the wrong way. And like I always knew like so doing things the wrong way and then just making sure I had good people around me that could pull me up when I was not good. Cause I didn't, I have an entrepreneur bone in my body. Like family was very blue collar. Dad was very blue collar, mom, very blue collar, didn't go to college, like 0% entrepreneurship. So it was a lot of figuring it out along the way, I would say, and making the mistakes and trying to learn from those mistakes.
Okay, so what made you then go this direction? Like, if you don't have this bone in your body, like, how did you end up doing what you do now, running Agency U?
Yeah, funny. Um, yeah, I mean, when I was 18 years old, I was convinced, like, I was sitting in the Army's office about to sign my papers, and I called my dad and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna join the Army, and this is the job that I'm gonna do." And he's like, "Hell no, you're not. Get home right now." So I bolted back home with my dad, and he's like, "No, just find a job and then like do something else." I was like, "Okay, I'll just become a police officer, I guess, because it's comfortable." Blah 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 blah. Wasn't old enough to apply. Was working on a freaking bridge that was a 45-minute drive away. That was lead containment. My coworker was on jail leave. So it was like crazy that I'm an entrepreneur whatsoever. But what happened was I got around people. I got around someone specifically who opened up my eyes. So like I think with adversity growing up and with seeing I don't know, issues you like with your family, you kind of realize, okay, I got to work really hard to make a name for myself, or I got to work really hard at a company. That was kind of just like my ethic. And then I started working in a call center, and the founder of that company that I was working at said, "Yo, man, we have a similar upbringing. My parents are divorced. My brother is a drug addict, and like I think you're capable of doing more than you think you are." And after learning his story, I started to see myself in him. And I was like, wait, he's this founder of this multi-million-dollar company that sold to a massive company. Like, why can't I do what he's doing? And really, he took me under his wing, became a friend, still is a friend. And that was kind of the spark of, wow, I can do more than I actually feel like I'm capable of doing.
Dude, I love it, man. And then you've taken this thing to, your bio, you've taken this thing to about $200,000 a month,
Yeah.
growing your agency. And, I think it's cool that you're open to sharing some of these things because, a lot of times on the internet, you see people and they're making these bold claims or how much money they're making, and then they're not showing what it's costing them to make that, right?
Mm,
And in a lot of the work that you do, you talk about the vulnerability, the authenticity around the numbers, but also around how to get to those numbers, right? And what it actually takes. And you break things down very succinctly. And
mhm,
it's all through your systems.
mhm.
What are some of the systems that you've put into place that have allowed you to scale from individual freelancer entrepreneur to actual agency owner and business owner?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the systems that are relevant would become like a actual system for running the business. Like one of my favorite quotes that it pertains to when I'm talking to agencies is that systems run the business and people run the systems. Okay, so if you can have good systems that run the business, then you will actually be able to have a business because all you need to do is find people to run those systems. So the more that you can focus on a system that actually runs the business, because I think as a freelancer or if you're just getting started in business, everything's up in your head and you're so keen to just like, okay, I know everything. It's faster if I do it, more efficient if I do it. I'm the only one who knows how to do this, and that's just what we default to. Versus take what's in your brain, download it into a system, and then make that your what we call an operating system. So I think a system to run the business, an operating system, talent acquisition system is going to be really important. A good way to find really good talent. I think a lot of people, when they're finding and they're hiring people, is they will hire the first person, or they don't have a system for hiring. Like I look at hiring as getting a client. Like you have to market for your ideal talent, because when you hire the talent, you want them to be an A player, or you want to build them up into A player. So we treat talent acquisition just like we treat client acquisition, with marketing, with really clear copy, with really good copy, and with really like clear messaging to attract our ideal person. So we have operating system, talent acquisition system, and then client acquisition system. So a predictable way to get new clients. So as a freelancer, as a solopreneur, if you're really good at what you do, likely you're sometimes don't have a problem with getting new clients, but you're trapped with the referral game, with the word of mouth game. And there's only so many referrals and word of mouth that you can get. So if you can create a predictable way to get new clients through a client acquisition system, then you will predictably be able to grow your business if in fact you have good system, like an operating system and a talent acquisition, to actually be able to sustain the client acquisition growth. So I think those three would be the key that I would be thinking about if I'm in fact in those shoes.
Yeah. I want to go high level, and then I want to get granular into probably the client acquisition system, because I know that that's what our audience loves to hear about. So
Cool.
at a high level, right, with these different systems and you running the business, do you have a structure of how you structure your days or your weeks, or how much time you're spending per system or per avenue of the business? I'd love to get a breakdown so that then we can really dig into what you're spending your time on as the CEO, and then how it fits into each one of these systems.
Yeah. I would say how I manipulate / use my calendar is I will take no meetings until after 12 p.m. Pacific time. So usually from 7 to 12 is deep focus. Obviously, sometimes things take priority and they'll leak into those times, but try to be disciplined with having the deep focus work where I can do CEO activities and not take a call and be reactive, but more so be proactive of what the actually business, what's actually gonna be a needle mover for the actual business. And then on like a Thursday, for example, I'll block off my calendar completely and focus solely on creating content, which is a marketing activity. Like YouTube videos, like we're going really in depth on like our trainings, and trying to have like really rich videos and very educational videos for the viewers essentially that follow our YouTube channel, agencies. And yeah, just stay ritualistic to that. And my highest leverage activities are in the morning where I need the most energy. So that's what I block off to focus on the business activities that are actually going to move the business forward.
Did you find that there was a certain point of your business or of your CEO growth where you were like, you know what, I can have meetings starting at 12 and not before? I feel like for a lot of entrepreneurs, there's that like, oh, I'm in this stage, I need to be available. And then there's a point where you realize that no, you just allow people to contact you in the timeframes that you want to be contacted, right? It's your business. You're designing this. Was there a time for you where you really realized the shift of setting those boundaries and kind of creating what you found to work for yourself related to those time blocks?
Yeah, I think it just came from realizing that, like, let's just say I have a meeting at 9 a.m. and then a meeting at 11:30 a.m. and then a meeting at 8 a.m. Let's just call it that. It's like you can't get anything done because your meetings are so sporadic. Like you need to, like if you really want to move the business forward, it's going to take like multiple hours of deep focus to focus on the boring work so you can actually get stuff done. So if I'm having a meeting here and there, like it's just going to throw off my flow, and it's just impossible to get things done. So I think it was just a realization of that and being like, okay, I'll just time block and move all my meetings and everything's going to be okay.
Do you feel that you miss out on potential opportunities because you do that?
Not necessarily. Like if there's something that takes priority, then I'll be flexible with my schedule and book something at 8:30 or 9 or something like that. But yeah, I would say I'm probably 80% like stick to it for sure.
That's awesome. All right, let's dig into the client acquisition funnel. Okay, I know you talk a lot about this, and if anybody watches your YouTube, you talk about two core things that I see a lot. You talk about the authority funnel, and you talk about cold emailing. Let's start. Is there one that you suggest comes before the other? And at a broader level, how would you talk about the client acquisition system in terms of what people could need and what you've seen work for yourself and the clients that you serve?
Yeah. So we can hit on both of them, and I can just kind of hit on it real quick. So the authority funnel, essentially it's a Instagram funnel, and it's basically turning your Instagram into a funnel. Okay. So I think the traditional model when it comes to setting and booking appointments is, okay, I'm going to run an ad. I'm going to send it to a landing page. They're going to watch this video, and then hopefully they book a call. Okay. So we have, and then like it's sort of faceless in some ways where like brand doesn't matter, like no trust really matters. It's kind of just like how good is your copy, how good is your marketing to get them to that page. Whereas the authority funnel, what we will do is we will have two different ads running. One is like a follow me ad. So if you're a niche and you're struggling with these, or if you want this desired outcome, but you're struggling with pain point 1, pain point 2, pain point 3, go ahead and give me a follow here on Instagram, scroll through all my content and where I show niches just like you, how they can achieve desired outcome. Okay. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to follow us, and we're trying to get our ideal customer to follow us. And then to me, a follower in today's day and age, an ideal follower is like more valuable than an email list. It's like, it is your modern day email list, because if you can build your following with ideal customers, cool, then you have thousands of people that you can then sell to, if in fact they are ideal for what you want to sell. It's like not a vanity metrics if they are in fact your ideal customer. So people follow you, okay, that prompts an appointment setter or yourself to then message the follower to start up a conversation, because likely they're following you for the reason that they saw your ad. They fit your ideal customer profile. And then the second ad would be a carousel ad, which is more of a direct message type of ad, where it's like you're really speaking to your target customer. I could go deep into copy if you wanted me to, but it's basically, in short, a carousel that speaks to your client's pain points and the implications of the pain points. And then it shows the new way of doing things, which is how you help them get to desired outcome. And then at the end of the carousel, it prompts them to send them a message. Okay. So people are going to message you, people are going to follow you. And then what you do is you message the people that are following you, and the message the people that are messaging you. And then you set appointments from your Instagram, or they follow you, they see all your content, they have a lot of trust with you, and they makes it a no-brainer for them to actually show up to the appointments, to be excited about the appointment, and to trust that you actually know what you're talking about, because you have authority, because you did it in a way that's building authority versus the traditional just go to this landing page and book a call with us. So that's the authority funnel.
Let's dig into that a little bit. All right.
Okay.
Let's dig into that. So we have the follow me ad, then you have the like educational carousel DM ad.
Yep.
And then are you retargeting these people, or are you
100%.
sending like walk us through how you're kind of focusing on driving the right people now to see the content?
Yeah. Yep. So we have a retargeting ads as well. So those are very like bottom of the funnel. So like think of the carousel and the follow as like very top of funnel. And then we get them to our page, we get them to visit our profile, we get them to message us or follow us. And then now we have data that we can then leverage through retargeting ads, which are more bottom of the funnel. If you want desired outcome, DM me blank. And then we can set up like to learn more about how we can get you to desired outcome, assuming that they've seen your content, they visited your profile, they followed you from an ad, they checked you out. So there's a little bit of a level of trust, which makes them messaging you that much easier. But to get the ideal customer, like what you mentioned, like to get the ideal customer, it all comes down to copywriting. And it comes down to understanding your customers and understanding the pain points. And if you can master that, then you will do really well with the authority funnel.
Yeah. Do you see yourself? I've talked to a lot of ads experts, and it seems like there's a shift of like it used to be very detailed targeting, very
Yeah.
focused on like making sure you try to identify everything beforehand. And it seems like there's a shift going a little bit more towards just let the algorithm go broad and let the algorithm do its thing. Have you found more or less success with one angle when you're targeting for that initial follow or even the carousel one?
Broad. Yep. Like
Broad.
very broad. Age and a couple of interests, but a pretty 10 to 30 million size audience.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Talk to me about this, because once you're doing this, right, the whole point of this is to generate clients, right? It's a client acquisition system. It's supposed to be, the way you described it, is it's a predictable way to generate sales and opportunities.
Yep.
Is there a price point from an offer standpoint for everyone that's listening who has an offer, whether it's an agency, whether it's a speaking package, a coaching package, or whatever? Is there a price point that you have found works most effectively when it comes to using the authority funnel on Instagram?
Like from an offer perspective, I mean, high ticket for sure. Like if you have a high ticket coaching program, or if you have a high ticket service, then it will work really well, because it's building a lot of trust before you actually sell. So it kind of like expedites the trust building process of the sales process, which is extremely important when you're doing high ticket sales. Like if somebody doesn't trust you, they'll never do business with you. Versus if it's like a low ticket, $97 a month, like we'll run an ad, have really good copy. Like trust isn't as big as a factor as something high
Right.
ticket would be.
And when you say high ticket, have you seen everything from 2 grand, 5 grand, 20 grand, 50 grand? Like, have you kind of seen a wide spectrum, or is there kind of been like 2 to 8 grand is like turnkey, really great?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, $5,000 to $20,000, like if not more.
Yeah. And this is so good because I want everyone who's listening to this to really understand this. Like, Austin just gave you a very straightforward approach to generating $5,000 to $20,000 consistently, right? And just to go back to is like, you guys run this all the time for your business because I've seen your ads now that I followed you, now that we were doing this podcast, I've been on your Instagram. Now your retargeting ads are now starting to see me, right? And I start to see them. So when you look at this, I want to go one more depth here, and then I want to go broad back to the cold email side of it. Is there a budget breakdown of how you break down your follow ads versus retargeting versus carousel? Do you have like a general budget breakdown that you like to follow?
Yeah. Like let's just say I had $100 a day. Okay. I would say minimum if you're going to do something like this, like just be willing to invest $1,000 a month, which would be 33.33% dollars or $33.33 a day, whatever. You get what I mean?
So $1,000 minimum a month to be willing to try this strategy.
Totally. But let's just say we have $100 a day. Okay. I would probably do $50, or I'd probably do $40 to a carousel. I would do $30 to a follow ad, and I would do $30 spread amongst several different retargeting ads.
Okay, great. Okay, great. So carousel is a little bit more of the meat by just a little bit, but then you have the follow ads because you need the people to come in, right? And then when you're doing that, like, I think people that are listening are like, does this actually grow the account? Does it actually find the right people? Are you seeing like daily great leads come in, people following you? Like just because I know people are so skeptical about, ads that don't like immediately drive to a landing page, right? Yeah. And you're talking about top of funnel, get them aware, get them to follow you, just get them to see your stuff. Like, are you seeing the right people come in? And you have a high ticket offer. So do you see that come in regularly?
Yeah, as long as your copy is good, the people that are going to follow you are going to be the ideal customers. And then if you let Meta do its thing, if you trust the process and let the learning like happen, like it's gonna work. But yeah, we get thousands of followers every single month from the follow ad.
Incredible.
And like, so we kind of gauge it based off of like a follower, and then there's like qualified followers. And then I would say probably about 25 to 30% would be a qualified follower.
So you're saying 25 to 30% of all the follows that you get from the ad are like qualified, which you define. How would you define that? Just so we all know and we speak in the same language here.
Somebody who could potentially be a fit for agency.
Okay.
Meaning like finance, they're not just starting, they're not just curious, they're in the agency niche, like that sort of stuff. Because we'll have a conversation with them to make and like check out their profile. So it's a very shallow process, but that's how we gauge it from that perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I mean, you get the random people that you're questioning if they even have a real account, but they follow you, and you're like, well, I don't think you're a buyer necessarily. You might be using a secondary account or something, but off first glance, you're just like, hey, does this person have a bio that's legitimate? Do they have a headshot? Do they look like they're actually running a business that generates money, right?
For sure. Yep.
Okay, this is great. Let's go to the cold email because that's also another part of what you do in your client acquisition system. So how do you split between focus on the authority funnel versus cold email? Is it 50-50 in terms of how you're bringing in clients, in terms of your energy expense? What's kind of the breakdown there? And then let's talk about how cold email works from that standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, the beauty about cold email is it's like you can do unlimited emails and unlimited campaigns, and it's completely automated. I mean, if you use a tool like instantly.ai, they make it stupid proof to set it up. They make it stupid proof to find leads. They make it stupid proof to set up campaigns. Like it's all of it is just like given to you on a silver platter that there's no reason that you shouldn't be using something like cold outbound to acquire new clients. Because I think there's different clients that are going to be more keen to an Instagram authority funnel kind of approach. And there's going to be more clients that are going to be more keen to responding on email. So
What do you see as the difference there? What do you see as the difference? Because you use both.
yeah, if I'm like a, let's say I'm like a home service company and that's my target audience, like you might have a lot more success with something like cold email because they might be more keen on their emails potentially versus they're not maybe keen on scrolling Instagram. Or if your target
Yep.
audience is more older, they might be more keen with email versus scrolling Instagram. So that's kind of how I would differentiate it is like think, okay, where's my ideal customer? Where do they hang out? Cool. I'm going to hit them up where they're actually hanging out.
Awesome. And so with cold email, you mentioned you can send unlimited with the right system, and Instantly.ai is a tool that you use. We've used Instantly.ai. We've used Apollo for lead scraping. We've done some of these various different tools as well. When it comes to cold email, the biggest thing that people always say when it comes to anything cold is, oh, aren't people going to be so pissed at me that I'm sending cold emails to them? Because truthfully, most cold emails that we receive, we don't really want them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing to combat that when people don't want the emails coming in and now you got to capture their attention? So what are you doing and how are you making it so that you're not coming off as just a salesperson, but actually someone who might be able to support and actually help somebody?
Yeah. It comes down to like, so we recently had Felipe, who's a leader at Instantly.ai, and he kind of broke down like what makes a cold email successful from his point of view after like being a part inside of the organization. He's inside of the organization. It's good data, meaning the people that you're emailing are in fact the right people. It's a good offer, meaning your offer is actually applicable for the person. What else do you say? It's good good copywriting to make sure like the copy is actually speaking to your customer, which goes back to the copywriting point, which is what we talked about before, which is probably the number one important thing. And then I would say like testing and optimization, because cold email, it's a game of volume and it's a game of timing. If you can hit your client at the right time, like feeling a specific pain with the copy that speaks to the pain points, then likely you're going to get a response. And then when you're emailing them, it's not like we're saying, hey, we will help you 10x your leads. Like that's not like, we don't want to be vague. We want to make sure we understand our customers and we want to use copy that's going to actually intrigue them to respond. And then ending with like a call to action that's potentially like a lead magnet. Can I send you something? Basically, the idea is we want to get a positive reply because we're turning contacts into prospects, because that's what we're doing. Because if we send 10,000 emails a week, let's call it, just as like a baseline number, which is what you should be sending. I might sound like a lot, but that's not a lot. Then if we get 2% of a reply rate, and let's call it 0.75% are actually positive replies, cool, that's a pretty good number. And the positive replies are asking for what you have to offer them. They're asking for the lead magnet that you're going to give them, a personalized Loom video, quote unquote, something along those lines. That's what we're trying to do. And then start to build the relationship. So we're trying to build trust through the cold email versus just trying to sell them.
How much of when you do this is automated versus when the team takes over?
It's basically just when the appointment setter is ready to try to set the appointments. So they're just monitoring the positive replies. So any positive replies, that's where we'll take a omni-channel approach to setting the appointment from them and then respond back quickly and try to set the appointment from the positive reply.
Yeah. You mentioned, if I'm not mistaken, you mentioned like 10,000 a week is a pretty basic number. It's not a crazy amount. It's not a small number, but it's also not a huge number in this game. How many cold emails, if you don't mind me asking, are you guys sending? Because I feel like you really have a system locked and loaded.
Yeah. So we will like, I would say like a consistent flow would be, I don't know, like at our peak, we were sending 10,000 a day, but yeah.
So you're like you were getting up to like 300 plus thousand a month. You guys were sending.
Emails. Yeah. But we were testing a lot of stuff and we were going broad, we were going narrow. Like we had multiple campaigns going and whatnot. Basically, the team to manage is you basically have what's called a non-voice VA managing the Unibox, and any positive response, they're responsible for setting those positive responses up.
Awesome, dude. Okay, so we talked about that. Is there anything related to the client acquisition system that we have yet to really dig deep into? You talked about the cold email, we talked about the authority funnel. Is there anything else related to client acquisition that you think we should spend a little time on here?
I don't think so. I think that gives a pretty good gauge just to not get like too fire hosey with people. That would help get them started and hopefully inspired to take some action on either the authority funnel or the cold email.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And look, if people want more information, they can always go watch your YouTube videos on this.
100%.
They can check out your Instagram and everything. I want to switch gears a little bit as we kind of go into the final, segment here. One of the things that I know you're pretty passionate about from doing a little research is exercising and outdoor activities and doing triathlons or Ironmans, or you're always doing some different type of thing. How have you been able to find a great dance between being a active and involved CEO with being able to enjoy time with your wife, I believe, and also train for things that require a lot of your time? You're not just going out and playing basketball like I do. You're training for very long times. You're doing long activities. How have you been able to dance between the two and find that sweet spot for yourself?
Yeah, I would say if you asked me 7 years ago, I would say, dude, I'm just all in for business, grind, grind, grind. Like, screw spending time with my wife, screw like anything else other than business. And like what happened when I was in that mindset was my identity was wrapped into what I did, and everything that I did, or my identity was what I did as a business person. If the business was doing good, I'm doing good. If if we're having a conversation, it's only going to be about business. And I was just kind of like wrapped into this whole business type of person. And then I got a mentor who has been a great friend. His name's Alan Anderson, great human. And we did this exercise where it was like the wheel of life. And basically the wheel of life, you could fill in like, okay, how would you rate yourself from like a business perspective, financial, like relationships, fitness, all that sort of stuff. And I realized, okay, my wheel is really clunky, and started to realize, okay, my identity is not what I do from a business perspective. My identity is like one in Christ as a Christian, but also like my hobbies, like realizing that spending time with my wife is important. And once I started to release some of like the stress and anxiety of like not being present with anything else other than business, then that's when I started to fill up my cup. And as my cup filled up, then I was able to fill up others, was what I really realized. And it leaked into a lot of different areas of my life. Because if I'm investing in myself, filling my cup up from an exercise perspective, like building my endurance, like increasing my capacity for that perspective, that's going to help me become a better business person. If I'm spending time with my wife and being intentional and sacrificing and compromising, that's going to help me be a better business person, because I know that she's taken care of and her needs are being met. And it all kind of ties together, which is like a fulfillment, like overarching life fulfillment perspective, that has really drastically impacted me positively, despite what Instagram gurus and what you might see on the internet might say.
Yeah, and overall, right, to sum that all up, the more you focus on these other things, has your business grown?
100%, right? And it's also just like, yeah, it's like if I'm going to train for an hour and a half this morning, and I know by 6 p.m. I'm going to cut it off. It's like, cool, from 7 a.m. to freaking 6 p.m. I'm going to be grinding, because I'm going to try to get as much as I possibly can do so that I can be more present with my wife when she's here.
Yeah, I like how you kind of frame that. I was just working. And I remember I had a mentor of mine. He kind of was telling me, he's like working out in the middle of the days. He's working out at all different times. And I was like, how are you doing this, man? And he goes, look, I can just sit in front of the computer for the 12 hours. And for some of them, I'll be productive, but for a good majority, I won't. And then I'll be like anxious about it because I know that I should be optimized, but I'm not. And he goes, but if I just take that 2 hour gap, then I have 8 or 9 hours of focus time versus 12 hours of distracted time. And I'm also healthier and happier. And so it's like that little shift that sometimes we can get too caught up when we're starting, when we're trying to build something, when we're excited, because we love what we do, we're excited about it. But also there's more to the game, right? There's more to the game. And so I love how you kind of frame that. And for everyone, man, that wants to kind of keep connecting with you, you've shared a lot of great stuff in this conversation. For those of that people that want to keep connecting with you and learning from you, where can they follow you at, and how can we, potentially work with you?
Yeah, Instagram, the Austin Schneider is going to be the best bet. And then YouTube, I think it's just Austin Schneider. If you just type in my name, one of my videos will pop up and you can subscribe there. Do a lot of trainings, like really deep trainings on what we talked about from client acquisition and systems. So I would encourage you guys to check those out if you are more keen to hear more about what we talked about.
Awesome, dude. We'll get that linked up right after this in the notes. And then, final piece, right? You've done a lot of different things in your business. You've learned a lot of what doesn't work. You've learned a lot of what does work. if there was one action item that you'd encourage somebody to take after listening to this episode, somebody who's an author growing a business, somebody who's a coach, someone who's a speaker, someone who runs an agency, what would you suggest to be one action item that someone can go do right after this to implement?
What would their biggest pain points be?
Their biggest pain points would be client acquisition for the sake of this conversation.
Okay. My biggest action item would be to learn more about the authority funnel.
Love
Check
it.
out the YouTube. Watch one of my videos.
There we go. Short, sweet, direct to the point. Watch the video, get deeper, learn the things, take the action. I love it, man. This has been an absolute treat. It's clear why you've been able to do things so well. You've learned a lot. You've shared a lot. And dude, I'm grateful for this conversation. This is one of our first together. So this has been awesome. And for everybody that's listened to this, all right, here's the challenge. You know, we finish with a challenge every episode. Austin gave you the action item to go watch a little more on the authority funnel. Today's challenge is to do exactly that. Type in Austin Schneider on YouTube, go watch an authority funnel video that he has done. And then my challenge on top of that is to do what he says there, to try it, test it out, right? You know, he talked about a minimum, right, of $33 a day. Try it out. Do it for a week, 2 weeks, a month, okay? If you're trying to grow a bigger business, you got to be willing to invest in great opportunities, and that is an incredibly affordable marketing strategy, which I love. So everybody, thank you for joining us today. And Austin, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate you.
Got it.